Present day. Present time.
So I just got done beating Stellar Blade. I played the game from start to finish, and before I played this game, I saw people online saying how it was Gooner bait and how the Gooner stuff was so good in it. And I have to say to those people, you're clearly not paying attention to the story at all. You know, a lot of people have told me that you don't play this game for the story. And to those people, honestly, what I have to tell to them is you clearly never held a Bible in your hands in your life. And I went into this game with the impression that the game was going to just be a waifu game with jiggle physics, but God, was I wrong. I'll be talking more of the story, but to get just a short answer of what it kind of touches up on, it's like a post-apocalyptic game and how humanity could play God and how it could go wrong in some of those results. But it goes really heavy into biblical symbolism and it goes really heavy into biblical philosophy. And that's one thing that really woke up that part of me. So the biblical symbolism, it touches in books and scriptures like Ezekiel, Genesis, Revelations, and even Corinthians, and it's all over, especially almost at the end of the game. Let me give you a little backstory about me. My parents used to make me go to church, and I freaking hated it as a kid. But at one point, they sent me into Biblical Institute, which is basically like, I guess you could say like a sort of college, but for Bible. And even though I didn't like going to church, like being like listening to the stories and actually studying the Bible and like different religions really deeply got me into philosophy and learning about religion really young at age and like how I interpret things. Something that got me really deep into knowing the lore and stories about things, which probably explains why I'm such a huge Star Wars lore nerd. Like, I'm so deep into Star Wars lore. So I guess you could say that the Bible was actually my first conspiracy book. One thing I really learned from it was to really look at things on both sides and start thinking really great and always question authority, even the people most on top. So Stellar Blade touches really heavy on the topic of morality along with philosophy. So whoever made Stellar Blade, I see what you're doing and I like it. From the combat, the story, the philosophy in it, there's so much philosophical weight in it. I can't even say good enough things about this game. If I had to describe this game in small words, it's like Evangelion had a baby with Devil May Cry during the books of Revelations. Now, let's get into the game review. Okay, so in Stellar Blade, you play as an elite warrior sent down to pretty much reclaim Earth. And Earth at this point has been overrun by these creatures called the Nativas. And as you play the game and you start progressing to the story, you later find out that everything that you've been told from the day you were born was actually a lie. The monsters weren't just like random threats, they're actually connected to the downfall of humanity, which was also caused by humans. And the people that were orbiting the Earth are not humans. They think they're humans, but they're actually AIs pretending to be human, but they're just lied to their whole lives. Eve progresses the story. She basically starts getting memories and visions and divine signs about like humanity and what's going on. And she starts to really question whether she's real or not and questions her whole identity and her whole existence and purpose. Later down the story, you meet these two core important characters, Adam and Raven, which are tied to this whole conspiracy about AI and godlike AI known as the Mother Sphere, I believe. And what starts into a simple mission, it quickly spirals into a philosophical and theological crisis. And it draws heavy inspirations from the Bible and other Abrahamic scriptures. And by the end, Eve is not just fighting to reclaim Earth at this point, but she may be the last true human, and other humans are either clones or they're just hybrids and they're not humans. They think they're human, but they're more machine and not human at all. So eventually she gets caught between these really big choices, and either she becomes the messiah of humanity or the savior of humanity, if you want to call it that in other words, or just another part of a broken system. But even as she becomes the new messiah, it wouldn't really be like an actual messiah. It'll just be the repeat of another abomination and another way of humans playing God, which clearly did not go well all last time they did it. So the question will be, why would it even be any different this time? I would like to touch more into the symbolism within the game. So let's start with Eve. As we know, in the Bible, Eve was pretty much the first woman to be born. And in the game, Eve is the first woman to be reborn. So Eve, they chose that name and it wasn't subtle. She represents rebirth, the mother of humanity. She was sent to reclaim paradise, but she ends up finding ruins and lies and more deceptions. Now let's move on to Adam. Adam, in a way, represents the false prophet or the fallen angel as he's trying to reshape what it means to be human and just make it artificial and more man made. And in the game, Adam only has 3 rings, which biblically, there's an angel called a seraphim, I believe, that have 6 rings. This pretty much symbolizes a falling state, like a falling angel. And in this state, it refers more to similar to Lucifer or any other broken angel that you want to think of. In the story, he guides Eve while hiding the truth. So he's pretty much the way that the deaths show him and represent him. He's like a false savior, like a corrupted shepherd. And as we know, according to the Bible, Adam was humanity's first man. But this version is a twisted and digital reflection, as you could call it. I guess a much darker and twisted version of looking at it. Like, think about it like losing all, falling from grace. Well, let's talk about Raven, because I really like this one. Raven pretty much deceives you throughout the whole game through these holographic messages, and she acts as they look like a Jedi hologram, pretty much, if I had to describe it. She manipulates you into doing her will. Eventually, you have to fight her, and you end up cutting both her arms, forcing her to pretty much crawl, which is a direct parallel to Genesis 3:14. I'm going to read a little bit of a chunk of that verse, and it says, "Because you have done this, you will crawl on your belly." That's pretty much what God told to the snake. That was its punishment after it did what it did, tempting Eve in the Garden of Eden. And Raven starts tempting Eve to kill her and just finish her off. And unlike in the book, Eve did not get tempted. She got tempted, but she refused. She didn't just receive, but this time she doesn't fall into the serpent's deception like she did all the other times. Other reference was the mother sphere, the AI god, pretty much. This was a parallel to the Tower of Babel. Humanity basically, at this point in our timeline in real life, humanity was trying to become gods through technology and advancements. The questions that developers wanted to ask, in a way that I got it, was they were raising the question, is AI a divine creation or is it a man-made abomination? This game, they also make another reference that Ophanim rings. I don't know how to pronounce that in English. I'm just going to say in Spanish, Ophanim's rings, which is connected to Ezekiel's vision in the Bible. So in the final chapters, you see a glowing rings in the skies, and as a reference to Ezekiel 1, wheels within wheels full of eyes. In the Bible, these angels pretty much, they guard God's throne, and it represents divine judgment. And in this game, here they may symbolize Eve becoming a vessel of divine truth or the salvation. By salvation, not that she's a savior in that way, but the way that she's a savior is that the remaining people or whoever is around, to make them look at things differently and to come to realization that what they're doing is wrong and is not actually good. It's better off to just have that cycle end before things get a lot worse. And in this other part, they reference the fall and return, like Lucifer or Christ. And Eve rises into the orbit or the heavens and only to fall back to Earth like a meteor. This echoes with biblical events, the fall of Lucifer from heaven, but also the descent of Jesus Christ to save humanity. The fall isn't death, but they show it more of a transformation. It's transformation. Think about it like a point where she started and where she's now, like a start and an end. Or you could look at it of how far she's come. Some Corinthian vibes seeing through the glass. Now we see through the glass darkly. If you go to Corinthians 13:12, the ending implies like Eve's journey isn't over. Truth remains hidden. She's only in the beginning to understand her role, possibly setting it up for new game plus or some future DLC or a large biblical cycle repeating again, and another sign of symbolism. This game likes to use it a lot. Now let's talk about the ending. I know what I saw. So right at the end of the game, you pretty much see Earth surrounded by glowing rings. That wasn't just a visual flare. That was actually a biblical and it is actually linked to a prophecy. So in the Bible, to be specific, 1 Corinthians 13:12, it says, "Now we see through the glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know part. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully." So if I want to tell you a translation, so basically right now we don't get a full picture of things, but when we reach heaven or enlightenment, we will finally understand everything. And that's pretty much exactly what happened to Eve. She saw the truth, she saw everything. The rings around Earth, to me, they're more like angels that Ezekiel described, the ones who guard the throne of God. But instead of welcoming Eve home, they're circling the planet like a divine lock world, or just watching or watching over the birth of a new one. Eve can't go back. She knows too much now, and like it or not, that's the price of the revelation she had. Now let's talk about combat and gameplay mechanics. Now I've played a lot of PC games, and I've noticed that a lot of ports always have really that they have so much issues when you click the keys and how the keyboard responds to the game. This is really common in ports, but in this game, not at all. Like I did not have to deal with that at all. If not, I think it was way more responsive than the controller. No, the parry and combo actually felt pretty good in it. It kind of reminded me of like a mix of Sekiro and Devil May Cry. And the Tashi abilities kind of also reminded me of Devil May Cry when you get both an Angel's abilities in it. Like it's just so cool. Let's talk about skill trees and builds. The skill tree is pretty easy. It tells you what it does, and you can even go and practice the move if you want to use that ability and you don't know how to use it, so you could practice and get good at it. Also, you could customize it for aggression. You could the axle spines, which is basically like in a way, if you want MMO terms, it's like those amulet things, but it's for your spine. It's like a modification for your spine. And then there's the gear, but everything is pretty easy to understand, like where anyone could get into it. Me personally, I went into a build that had a little bit of shields and then my reflexes and crit. I focus on crit and it was freaking great because I was burning through shields like there was no tomorrow. Not only that, you could actually get pretty early or mid game. You could get pretty good gear that could probably carry you all the way through the end game. All you got to do is just upgrade it. Let's talk about the cosmetic because everyone talks about this. Yes, there's Gooner outfits, and if you're into that, there's a bunch of those. But me personally, I felt like a lot of those outfits, yes, they were Gooner outfits, but a lot of times I felt like they didn't fit in that world. So I just stuck to that orange black one, the commander one, because that one it kind of makes me feel like an X-Men from the next generation or whatever. You know, you guys remember watching that anime? But it was like the X-Men, but of the future and the apocalypse. That's my reason why I chose that one. I think it looked cool and I look like a commander. Like I don't know what else to say, but yeah, the outfits are there, I guess. The reason I didn't use the other outfits is because I like to do things by lore wise, and if they never met a real human, why would they use human clothes? Everyone around you doesn't use like the clothes humans typically use. They usually have some function behind it, which is why I didn't decide to go to normal clothes. And if they never been in a normal study or society, how would they know how to dress? I like doing things by lore, and I didn't think it makes sense to wear the stuff that looks like regular clothes we use nowadays. As for the pacing of the story, I think it's pretty good. It explains things to you, but one of the things, even though it delivers the story and gives you a core concept quick, exactly what's going on, what I don't like about the game is that, especially in the beginning of the game until mid game, they make you do this thing where they make you do all this, like go all the way here, and then you waste your time, and you got to go to a whole different section, and then you're like, okay, that was kind of annoying and pointless to do, and then it happens over and over and over and over till late game. And late game, you stop getting that, and then I'm like, okay, finally, we don't get that wasting time shit. But other than that, I enjoyed it. I would say that it's pretty linear, but the story is like the progression of it feels kind of linear. Like, go here, open, fix the panel, go here. It's like a similar pattern, but it did not bother me because the story was so good. I let it go. As for the game performance, I'm surprisingly going to say that this game actually performs really well. That it is Unreal Engine 4, so that makes a lot of sense why it performs so well. As you guys know, I game on Arch Linux, and the game was running perfectly fine. It was using DLSS 4, and I had it set on quality, and I still was hitting that max performance. And I was getting mad frames. I had to lower it because I like lowering it when I'm streaming it. But yeah, and frame generation is there. It also works, but I think it's unnecessary because I'm already getting good performance. There's no need for me to use frame generation. But if you're on a lower card that supports frame generation, you can go ahead and do it. But yeah, it was it was really good. Like it performed perfectly. I have no issues there. The closing thought: should you buy this game or no? Of course. Why wouldn't you? Like, it sounds pretty obvious that I'm super into it. You should totally buy this game, and it's only $60. Come on, you can like. I got a really good story for that price. I haven't been satisfied in a while for this, except for a game that came out not that long ago. What was that game that came out that long ago? Oh yeah, I can't remember because it was bad. But anyway, if you guys like this video, you know what to do. If you don't like it, hit that dislike button. And until next time, remember, stay spooky, stay weird. Bye.